Okay, so let's jump right in. So here I am in Procreate, and the way I'm going to do this, I'm just going to grab a simple brush. Here's a pencil brush. And let's just start concepting or blocking out a concept for our character. So I just created this simple square canvas. And to get started as a first kind of step, let's just create kind of the basic shape. So I'm thinking of a character that has kind of a super wide face with the eyes being on the side, right? Just super rough at first. Kind of our first pass, right? Think of it that way. And he's gonna have a long neck. And then I do want to give him a spacesuit, and maybe the spacesuit can come down, maybe the shoulders are kind of lower, and let's see, so I do want to have him have kind of a skinny thighs with the hips, right? So it's something like that, just really roughly concepting. And for the arms, I'm just really visualizing the arms kind of coming down like this, but we'll probably make them in a T-pose, but just to get an idea of the length of the arms, I think it's important to sketch something in a kind of standing pose. And for the arms, I love when the characters have, so he's super skinny, right? So, but he has like these huge alien hands, right? So, and I'm just gonna give him, maybe, I don't want to get too crazy, maybe we'll give him 2 or 3 fingers, right? So kind of exaggerated hand, right? So that's gonna be kind of the first pass. Now if we needed to move this up, of course I can do that too as well. I can scale it, move it up. I love Procreate for some super basic concept, and I usually don't show my concept work, but I thought it would be just fun to do it with you guys, and maybe you can do it as well. Just super simple, nothing intimidating. Now here I had an idea. So for the feet, normally what I would do is I would cut off, you know, something like the, let's say this is spacesuit, so the cutoff would be like right here, and then here's the feet. So for the feet, I was thinking it would be cool if he had kind of huge, so he's super skinny, but maybe he has these big, really big feet, and maybe just has 2 toes, right? Something super alien. But I was thinking for the feet, it would be really interesting to integrate. I want to show his feet because they're so unusual, and it's going to be kind of a stylized, cartoony character, right? I thought that would be cool. But at the same time, it would also be interesting if the feet were combined or incorporated with some kind of a tech as well, right? So I'm not really sure what that means. I'm almost thinking of like, I don't know, like a sci-fi sandal. Just something unusual. So maybe there's a sole on the bottom, right? So he's not just walking with his bare feet, but I do want to show those crazy toes, I think. And maybe there's like a spiky bottom to these sandal boots. Sandal boots, that's what it is. Just, again, inventing, having fun, experimenting, right? It's so easy to get away with just looking at other people's work or AI, Mid-Journey, right? There's so many ways you can get ideas and concepts. Sometimes we forget that it's just fun to grab a pencil and just sketch something. And that's what I'm doing here, just playing, right? Attempting to create something original because I had never seen a sci-fi sandal. I thought that's really cool. Let's just maybe create kind of a connection here, right? So these sandals have kind of a strap holding the foot in, obviously. And for here, maybe I'm trying to figure out if he needs like a knee, some kind of a sci-fi knee pad, maybe, right? Why not? So something like this is cool. And here maybe there's some sort of connection as well, just kind of sealing the airtight pants to the foot. I'm not really sure exactly how it's going to work, but maybe there's like a little connection of some sort. All right, we can play around a little more in 3D as well. And let's just do like a little detail. So these are, again, super skinny, right? And I'm not even sure that I need to draw a second arm. If I wanted to copy it, I'm not really sure how much experience you guys have in Procreate. I use it once in a while. But what you could do is, I think, where do you go? You go here. And you could just select a portion that you want to copy, and then you just slide 3 fingers down and do copy, then slide 3 fingers again and do paste. And now what I could do is I can flip this over and just drag it over. So a cool little way to cheat. And you can see there's layers as well. If I pinch these together, it's going to combine them in one. So this is Procreate is an excellent program to do some quick concepting. Right, and I'm not gonna design this whole suit, but maybe he has something going on, you know, something spacey looking. Here, he's got some kind of a thick thing here. Maybe on his neck, he's got some lines. So this is essentially just the first pass, and honestly, I think that's almost good enough. I want to keep this super simple, but I do, you know, it'd be really fun if right here he had just a huge zipper. And you say, why a zipper? An alien wouldn't have a zipper, but maybe this guy does. And maybe it's so big that it's like hanging a little bit. I think that would be kind of funny, like a huge bottom, exaggerated, almost a little bit comical, right? So you have this cartoony alien with huge zipper and sandals. Very cool. Now, if we want to do a second pass, what we could do is we can create another, let's see, how do we do this? We can create another layer by pressing plus. Then we can go to this little N and slide this down, right? So now we have kind of it's a little more transparent. Now if I go back into layer 2, if I needed to, I can come here and just do maybe a more detailed sketch. Maybe the eye is going to be something like this. So this is my second pass. It's not much better than the first one, but I'm just showing you kind of the fun process of sketching and just playing, right? For the mouth, like this is going to be his neck. So for the mouth, I don't really know if I want give him kind of huge teeth. Maybe he has some big teeth sticking out here. I don't know. I don't really want to make him scary, but at the same time, it does feel like he needs something. And it would be cool if the head was kind of leveled with the eyes, right? So it's not, you know, it's not too much higher. And then here we can draw some folds, some skin fold and some skin detail. For the nose, I'm not sure he needs a nose, but maybe he has 2 little nostrils or something. And as a final touch, maybe he could have like these long, not hairs, but almost like a hanging, like a sokatana, right? Like they got these part of the body, but they're like hair-looking things. So I think that would be kind of interesting. All right, so here we go. So that's going to be my concept for this crazy, crazy character. If I wanted to, I can come back here. I can turn my opacity back on. And I can, again, pinch this. If I wanted to put them, combine them together. If I come here, I can maybe do a little more detail, figure out if I want to give them nails. Right? Let's keep it simple. I'm not going to give him a weapon or anything to hold. Just kind of keep it something along these lines. All right, so what would be next step? So now since I have this crazy rough concept, the next step is let's jump into ZBrush and start playing around with this idea. Okay, so I loaded up ZBrush 2024, but I think anything that we're going to be using is going to be the same in previous versions of ZBrush. If you don't have the latest, that should totally be fine. I'm not planning on using anything that has been added recently. All right, so to get started, I'm going to go ahead and close this, and let's think about what would be the best place to begin. I usually like to begin with just blocking out things, so I think Dynamesh sphere should be fine. So let's decide if that works. We can also, of course, use Z spheres for blocking as well, but again, let's just keep it super simple. I'm just going to figure out which one of these should work. Let's just grab this. Let's just do something super low, right? This is 64, so I'm going to grab this 64 sphere. Okay, so this is going to be the beginning, right? So let's just think about this. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab and put this into position. And obviously I'm not going to start sculpting the all the details like the spacesuit and the sandals. Let's just first block out the basic body structure, right? Just the body outline or shape, just using kind of primitives, right? So how do we do that? Well, let's just think about this as being our head, right? And I'm going to start kind of attempting to create some kind of a logical reference for the shape of the middle, right? So that's going to be something like that. To start on the eye, I'm going to hold on Control and just drag this out. Maybe I want to make this more, let's go ahead and turn off symmetry. I'm going to make this a little more round, right? This eye is going to be a little more round than the basic shape of the head, right? So something like that. Again, I want to keep it about the same height, even as the base mesh. So something like that is pretty much perfect. I'm going to come on the side, and I'm going to make sure that it's somewhat round as well. Keep it nice and organic. I think that works. We can make it just a little bit smaller maybe. And now how do we get this guy to be mirrored on the other side, right? So to do that, I can just simply use the mirror and weld button. If you're not sure where that is, if you press Control on any one of these buttons, it's going to show you on the bottom where stuff is located and what what its function and purpose is. Each button has one. So if you, for example, if I hover over this mirror and weld on the bottom, holding down Control key, I can see it says it's in the Tools, Geometry, Mirror and Weld. So you can find that there. I'm just going to press it. And now if I press it, it's going to always take the left side and mirror it to the right side. Let me undo that. So obviously if I mirror the left over to the right, this one is going to disappear, right? So for me to use mirror and weld, I first have to flip it over. So to flip it over, I'm going to use another one just called mirror. And that one is located in Tool, Deformation. Now if I flip it and mirror it to this side, now I can use mirror and weld, and I can have two of them. Very cool. Now they're still all in the same layer, so I can hold on Control and drag to select them if I needed to. Make sure nothing is masked. And now let's just make a connection between these two, right, with the main part of the head. And for that, let's just do something as simple as a cylinder. So I'm going to bring a cylinder in, and let's go ahead and rotate our cylinder. We can hold on the Shift key and rotate this 90 degrees. I can scale this. I'm not sure why, but for some reason I hit it by accident. So let me put that back on, and let's just put this into position. If you want to see through this, you can always use transparency. You can also jump between perspective and orthographical camera, which I do a lot. I like to use this a lot when I model. And let's just decide on the thickness. I'm not using any kind of precise measurements for this because I want to encourage you guys to just play and kind of feel your way around the shapes and be a little more exploratory and kind of just accidental, right? Let's just have fun. So I think it's going to be something like that. As far as the thickness, I'm happy with this. I can hold down Control, bring it over here. Now I have 2 of them. Let's jump out of the transparency mode and take a look. Before we merge them together, let's maybe make this part just a little bit larger. So I'm gonna go in here and I'm just gonna grab something like inflate, turn my symmetry on by pressing X. And let me just maybe make this just a little bit larger, a little bit stronger, right? I do want to make sure that this looks like and feels like a head versus, you know, like another eye or something, right? So I think something like that is a little bit better. Just simply using inflate to increase the scale a little bit. Now what I would like to do is I would like to merge all of these, both of these layers into one, right? So to do that, I can come down here and just do a merge and do merge down and say okay. Now for me to turn this into a one mesh, right? Right now you can see if I turn this polyframe on, you can see that there's still different groups, right? They're not really merged together as one blobby mesh, right? How do we turn this into more of a organic blob? That's the word that comes to mind. To do that, you want to turn on your Dynamesh, and let's keep this low still. I'm gonna keep this at like, I think 128 would be good. Let's just keep it at 128. And Dynamesh is on, so I'm gonna press Control and drag to re-Dynamesh this whole thing. Now, when you do it once or twice, make sure that once should work, but you might have to do it twice. I just had to do it twice. But you can see that the connection has been made and now they are kind of flowing into each other, which also means as long as your active symmetry is on, you can hold on the Shift key and just kind of help the connection and just kind of smooth this out. And you can see how it's already looking a lot more interesting and a lot more organic, right? Right, so that's looking at this so far. I'm pretty happy with this. I think that's great. Let's just keep going and do kind of the similar workflow to create the rest of our base mesh, right? So let's bring in another sphere, and I'm going to kind of put it in position, and these are going to be my essentially my going to start building kind of the chest area, just using spheres, right? Before I mess this up, let me think if I need to do anything else. I can always grab another one, that's fine. All right, let's grab the move brush. Again, turn active symmetry on, make this kind of large. And I'm just looking at the shoulders, right? I'm going to start kind of pulling out the shoulders and maybe the belly. Pull this down. Now, if somebody wanted to take this and use it as a actual reference for the sizing, right? How do you do that? You could always bring this image in. Right now I'm using Pure Ref to kind of hover this over. But there's 2 different ways you could do that. Actually 3. There's 3 different ways you can bring in an image and use it as a reference. One would be to just open this up on your desktop, make it kind of large, and then just use the see-through slider to make the entire ZBrush a little bit transparent, so then you can kind of trace the scale of something. So that's one way of doing it. Another way of doing it would be to bring stuff in as a texture, right? You can insert a texture, import a texture, and let me just maybe show you how to do that. So if I import this image and say open, it looks like nothing happened, but now if I go to texture and I click on this image, I can set this up as a spotlight, right? If I do a spotlight, you can see that now I can scale it, and I can also, there's a bunch of different things you can do. You can fade this, you can, if you press Z, it will kind of now stay in place, right? And I can align my image to that. If I press Z again, I get this menu back. We have opacity, right? So if we want it to be barely visible, we could do something like that. Super dim. something like that, right? And I can put it in position. I can just roughly use this as a reference here and there if I wanted to. Now if I press Z, now you can see that it's just kind of frozen overlay over me sculpting stuff. So that's that would be a second way of doing it. And the third one would be to bring stuff in through here. So you have draw, and then you have something called front, back, up, down. So if I do front, back, I can do a map, and I can bring in an image. And then the cool thing about this is that as you're moving this around, you know, just like in Maya, you're actually mapping out the back. And if you have multiple references, side references, back, front, top, whatever, you know, that will rotate with your character. All right, so now we just have to decide which one we want to use. Now I have three. I have Pure Ref, I got the Spotlight, and I have the imported image, right? I think I'm going to turn off my Spotlight. If I press Shift Z, I can hide my Spotlight on and off. So Shift Z will hide it and bring it back, and then Z will go into the edit mode. So keep that in mind. And if I wanted to change the opacity of this one, I should be able to do that by going to Draw. If you find something called Fill Mode, you can control the there's a couple different options to control the brightness of your image, right? So that's one way of doing it. You could do that. If you wanted to get rid of it and you are not interested doing it this way, you can always come back here, and I can just come here and just simply say texture off, and that will turn that off, right? If I didn't like these colors, now all these colors are activated, I could just switch my fill mode to 0, and now you can see I don't have those colors, right? All right, so another thing to pay attention to is in the floor. You can turn the grid on and off, but you have these little buttons, X, Y, and Z. Maybe I like the Y, so I know where the floor is, but maybe I don't want the back, which is the Z, right? So that's, I can turn that off. So keep that in mind. So to just kind of continue, I think I would rather just look at my image and do it that way, right? So just so I can have a little more freedom on exploring the shapes, and that I don't really want to follow the concept that closely, right? So let's go back into sculpting, and let's just continue sculpting. So I'm gonna create like an angle for my arms here. I can start creating a little place for the neck, and something like that should be perfect. Let's go ahead and figure out what we want to do here. So maybe for the back, let's just push this in, and for the belly, maybe I can do something like that. All right, so for the arms, let's just keep doing the same thing. I'm gonna do insert a cylinder, and let me just grab my move, and let's just do it on one side. I'm gonna do it on the left side so I can mirror it over. And now keep in mind, we do want to create this in T-pose, right? So we can have an easier time kind of modeling and, you know, maybe eventually even rigging this, right? So I'm gonna put this into place. Let's go ahead and figure out the thickness we want our arms to be. And I'm gonna go ahead and scale this. So something like that should be pretty much perfect. All right, now for, I'm gonna go to the top view. For the fingers, I'm going to simply insert another sphere. And let's just scale this down. So I'm going to start with the, start with the fingers, right? So the tips of the fingers. So I would like to have 3 fingers and the thumb. So for that, I do want my fingers to be spaced out, especially if the tips of the fingers are going to be kind of large. So I'm going to do something like this, hold down the control key, create another one. So maybe my middle finger is going to be a little bit longer than the, I guess, alien pinky. Then hold on the control key. This is going to be my index finger. It's going to be something like this, just a little bit shorter as well. For my thumb, I'm gonna hold on Control key, put my thumb right in front. Again, so I have an easier time rigging this. And let's do the palm, right? So hold on Control key or do something like that. Let's just maybe scale this a little bit larger. Go to this view and scale this down, right? All right, so we have something like that, kind of a cartoony base mesh. Something like that should be perfect. Now, if I wanted to make the connection here, I could use a cylinder, or I could just grab this one. If I click on this and just do duplicate, I can then go to move, put it in position, maybe make it a little bit shorter. And let's just start kind of aligning the fingers, right? So we have something like that. I want to make sure it makes sense from all the angles as far as the height goes. So that should work. Holding down the Control key, make another one. Let's rotate it into position. And one more time, put this into place. Now again, I'm just going to point this out. I am in the orthographic view. So that is kind of important because that's going to make sure that I'm aligning these properly, right? My thumb seems a little too crazy. I'm going to move it, I think, a little bit closer. And now if I'm working on one layer, right? Like if I click on this layer, all of these are on one layer. How do I move these? How can I move this closer, right? So one way of doing it is I can turn on polyframe and I can do auto groups. Auto groups are located in tool polygroups, auto groups. So that's where that is. And now what I could do is I can grab my move topological, make it super big, and just move this into position, but I need to make sure that this is not masked out. So I'm gonna hold on Control and drag, make sure nothing is masked. Now I can just move this into position using the move topology brush because my all of these elements are separate topology, right? I guess polygroups don't even matter at this point, but just a quick little tip, right? So you can always kind of rearrange this if you wanted to. Looking at this, I would like my hand to be a little bit larger. So what I could do is I'm going to take all of my fingers, I'm going to merge them down with my hand, right? And now what I would like to do is I'm going to scale. And I would like the scale pivot to be in the middle. So I'm gonna go ahead and unlock this. And I can try to use this, but that's not gonna be my center. But I could use this with this being unlocked to kind of reset my pivot orientation. Now I can just drag this into position. Maybe this would be a good place for scaling a hand. And I'll lock this up. Now I can scale this any size I want, right? So something, I do want to kind of large and cartoony. I'm pretty happy with this. I'm realizing that my fingers are masked out and so they're not moving with the hand. That's not good. I'm gonna undo everything I just did. And let's just do Control and drag to make sure nothing is masked and repeat the alignment one more time. Put this back into place. Lock this up, now scale, now I can see my fingers are scaling, very nice. I'm gonna put this into here. I wanna make sure this connection kind of seals. And let's take a look, make sure it's about the right position from the front as well. Let's grab this cylinder and let's grab our move brush and let's just maybe make this connection a little bit better. Holding down the Shift key, I can smooth this out. I just want to make sure nothing is kind of poking out, right? I can do more sculpting, but I do want to make sure the connections kind of make sense as far as the basic primitives go, right? All right, very nice. Now, next what I would like to do is I'm going to take the arm and I'm going to merge it down with the hand. So I'm going to say always okay. All right, I'm going to leave this on 128, just like our head. Do Dynamesh and do Control and drag. And now instead of going in individually for each connection and hold down the shift key to smooth this, right? I could just use my polish and just do it all at once. And that is located in Tool Deformation Polish, if you want to drag that onto your UI as well. All right, now I can just help the connection a little more. Now I have this cool base mesh for the hand. I'm still not loving this thumb. I feel like it's too long. So maybe these should be just a little bit longer, and this guy could be just a little bit shorter, right? And I can just start playing around. I'm not sculpting yet, but I could just start kind of pushing and pulling a little bit to help me understand how this is going to work, right? So the tops of the hand I'm going to pull out a little bit, so there's just a little bit of a curve to the fingers. It's a little more natural looking, right? I can pull the hand up a little more and then push the bottom of the hand down, right? And we can even do that for the tips of the fingers as well, just a little bit, very little, very subtle, just kind of, again, first pass of sculpting, you can call it that. Just start to like visualizing where this is headed. All right. Now, if we wanted to take this base mesh and flip it over, you should already know, right? You can just go to Mirror and Weld, and because I put this on the our left or his right, I can just Mirror and Weld. Now I have two of them. Okay, so that works. And next, let's go ahead and definitely save this. As you're working, make sure you save this. I'm going to save this tool, so I'm going to say save as, and I'm going to mention this. I mention this every time, but if you want to maintain a really small file size for your sculpts, saving a tool is the best way of doing it, because that will just save your tool without all the UI stuff and all the history. If you come here and do File, Save As, that's going to save a project, and the file size is going to be ginormous. So eventually, if you build out this entire character, the file size of this file could be, 5-6 gigabytes. Whereas if you keep saving the tool, it could just be 50 to 100 megabytes. So it's a huge difference. So I just suggest just doing the tools, right? So I'm going to do Save As. So I'm going to call mine Space Alien, and you should see something called ZTL file. If you say save, if you go back to it, you should see the file size is tiny, 3.8 megabytes so far. So that's great, right? Nice. So let's just keep going. Next, why not? Let's go ahead and create that neck again. I'm going to insert another cylinder and do something like that. All right. Now, if I wanted to merge this, I can move this up, right? I can place it right below the body, and then I can do merge down. Now there are merged together. 128, Dynamesh, drag, seal the deal, polish, and let's go to draw, and then maybe let's just smooth this even more. And we can decide if we want to merge it with the head. I'm going to wait a second just in case. Just in case I want to decide if this head needs to be. Let's go ahead and press X and center. Just in case we want to, change the height of the head. So I'm not going to merge these together yet. Maybe I want to be just a little bit higher, because I like how this concept has a longer neck. I think that's good. If I hold on the Alt key, I can select different pieces instead of selecting them in here. Just keep that in mind. Grab my move. And again, I keep calling this the first pass of sculpting. So I'm not really sculpting, but I'm just kind of adjusting the base mesh. You can see there's like a little taper going on here. So I'm just mimicking that in the reference. I do know that the front of the neck is definitely going to need to be more flat, and the back could be kind of pushed in. So something like that is good. All right, having fun. Let's go ahead and keep going. And now you should just be able to press save whenever you want to save the tool. And that should create, you know, a next version or override the other version continuously. So you can just do save and not worry about doing a save as, obviously, right? All right, so let's go ahead and bring in something for the legs. I'm gonna insert a cylinder. If I wanted to, I can move it down so it's nice and organized. So I got the head, I got the body, I got the arms. Now we can work on the legs. And if you wanted to name these, even as you're working on these, you could just select one, do rename, and do head if you want to stay organized. I usually don't because I keep playing around with merging them, separating them. But you know, it's a good idea if you have different versions that you want to save. Maybe you want to do this and save this as like version 1 or like the base mesh, and then do version 2 where it's more detailed. Then it would make sense to actually name these. Just a little tip. Let's go to our legs. Let's do again just the right side of him. So I'm gonna start building the leg thickness. I would like the leg thickness to be just maybe a little bit stronger than the arm, but not too much, right? So maybe something like this. I'm not gonna worry about the connection yet. I just want to, we also have to figure out if we want the legs to be straight down. It's definitely a lot easier for rigging if something is straight down versus something a little more interesting, right? So that's just a preference, and in my case, I think I'm gonna just angle it just a little bit and do something like that. Okay. Let me increase the length. He is gonna have long legs, but I don't want him to be too long, so something like that should work. I can go ahead and switch this to Dynamesh, and that will allow me to go to draw and grab my move. And now what I can do is I can just slowly kind of drag this into the body and create more of a kind of a hip situation. Just a little bit of a curve here. And definitely we can grab our move, put this into a better position, and see if that makes sense. Very nice. I'm not gonna worry about the knees or anything because we are gonna, this is gonna be a space suit, right? But again, if we wanted to, we could just tell ourselves, hey, the knee is gonna be somewhere around here. This is gonna be the fold, right? We can figure out if we want it to be kind of thinner here, maybe a little thicker down here. For that, I can just grab my inflate and just do just a little inflate on the bottom of the leg. Just keeping in mind the cartoony, stylized nature of this character, right? I can smooth this out. Now for the feet, let's do the same thing as we did with the hands. I'm just simply going to insert a sphere. Put it in position, decide the size of the toes that I want, maybe something like that. Now I could go on the bottom, honestly, so I can have a better understanding of the spacing. I can hold on the control key and make another toe, so now I have 2, right? And for the foot, let's just do the same thing. I'm gonna go to the bottom, hold on the control key, and put this into position. Maybe make this a little bit longer. I can come on the side and just squish this down a little bit and start kind of playing around with this, right? So I'm not really gonna have cylinders for the toes. I think I could just, let's do something like this and we'll just pull these in, right? I think that's fine. If I wanted to, I can rotate this just a little bit. So I have something like that. All right, now let's just start kind of pulling these together, right? So for that, I'm gonna grab my move brush, hold down Alt key and click on my toes. And actually I'm realizing I'm in the same layer, so they're just simply masked. So I need to demask them. Let's just zoom in a little more. And just simply using the move brush, I'm just gonna make my brush a little bit smaller and just pull this in. And you know, as I'm doing that, I don't want this to move, the same polygroups, so we need to do auto groups. Once they have different polygroups assigned, I can do Control Shift and click. I can do Control and drag to mask this. Let's go ahead and turn this off. Now you can see it's darker, right? It's masked, which means I can do Control Shift and click to bring everything back. And now as I'm moving these around, I know this is going to be frozen, right? So again, grab my move and just kind of make this a little bit smaller. And let's just pull this into position. And do the same thing here. Just move this in as well. And you can see how it's very quickly starting to look like some sort of a alien foot, right? Very cool. Let's go ahead and decide if we like the height of this. We can always readjust it. Maybe if you are not happy with it, right? We could do that. If you are happy with it, we could do Control and drag to unfreeze everything. We can turn this back into Dynamesh and just seal everything up. We can do our polish trick. Now it's just more of a solid mesh, right? If we wanted to start playing around with the idea of where the nails are gonna go, we can grab something like Trim Dynamic. Doesn't really matter, but we can just flatten the tops of these and do something like that. What I was looking for, that's great. Let's see, so next, let's make a connection of this foot with the leg. I'm gonna take this, I'm gonna merge this down. Now they're already Dynamesh 128, which means I can do, let's turn polyframe on, see everything is still in different poly groups, which is good. I can do Control Shift. Let's go ahead and freeze this for a minute. And let's just inflate the back of the foot to be more of a kind of a heel, right? So something like that. I'm just gonna inflate it. Very nice. I'm gonna do Control Shift drag to unfreeze this. Do Control Shift and click, and do Control and drag to freeze this. Do Control Shift undo. And what I'm looking to do is I just simply want to take my move and create a skinnier connection for the bottom of the ankles, right? So something like that should work. I don't really mind the calf to be just a little bit stronger here. That's fine. Just kind of start sculpting. Again, he's gonna have pants on, so we don't want to do any kind of anatomy on him, but we could just emphasize the fact that this is going to be a little wider here. All right. Very cool. Let's go ahead and flatten this, bring the knee out a little more, and now how do I connect this? Again, Control and drag to make sure nothing is masked. Do Control and drag to seal, and then holding down the Shift key, we can just weld this together. And now you can see we just have one base mesh for the entire leg going all the way up to the body, right? For now, let's do this. Let's mirror this over to the other side. So to do that, I'm just going to simply do mirror and weld. And you can see that my legs are kind of collapsing onto each other, so I'm going to do Control Z to undo, and I'm not happy with that. So how do I rotate this foot? Right now my foot is kind of pointing in. I need to have it point out. Rotate, and let's just simply freeze all of this here. Now if I hold down Control and click, you can see I can kind of blend this together. You can see how that is working. If I hold on Control and click, I can reverse the masking, and then I can do the same thing. I can click around to smooth this out. Now if I click Control and click again, I can make sure this is the bottom part is not masked, just the top of the leg is, which means if I go to the bottom, unlock this, reset my rotation, put this into position where the heel is, somewhere here, lock this back up, and then I can just simply rotate this, right? So that would be one way of doing it. So we could do that, and now we can take a look and see what that looks like. If we wanted to, we can go back to Draw, Control, drag to unmask everything. Holding down the Shift key, we can just smooth this out a little more. If you needed to, you can even take the Move brush and just readjust things, if that's something that needs to happen. And now let's go ahead and flip this over by just doing Mirror and Weld, right? So now they're not touching, and that's much, much better. All right, again, keep in mind this entire time we're just building kind of a really base mesh before we add any kind of cool detail to this, right? So that's what this is. I can go to perspective view, I can review this. Now I can see that the grid is kind of stuck in the middle. To fix that, I can go to Draw. Now if I put this on -1 and turn the snap on, you can see that it's going to snap to the bottom of my character, which means if I grab my legs, for example, move them up, the grid stays at this Y position, but if I rotate it, it's going to automatically snap back into place. I'm going to undo that. So you can see what that is, right? So keep that in mind. If you didn't want the floor to be moving with the character, just simply uncheck snap, and then it will stay into place like most 3D packages, right? All right, so now since we got the base mesh done, now let's go in and start sculpting the base shape a little better, and then also moving into adding more details. To get into more of details, the next step that I would like to do is let's talk about breaking this basic shape into specific components. And they are, you have the feet, then you have the suit, which is kind of a one mesh. Then you have the hands, right? Because the suit is going to have the arms probably connected, right, as one mesh. And then we have the head. So currently we have this kind of a wild west of shapes, right? We have our head, then we have our neck, and it's part of the suit, and then we have our arms and legs, right? So what I would like to do is I'm going to take all of these shapes and I'm going to start merging them together. So I'm going to merge them down. Let's go ahead and merge them all down into one. And I honestly don't even need them to be separate polygroups. So I could even, let's go ahead and redynamesh the whole thing and polish it. And if we wanted to, we can turn on symmetry, and let's just really merge these pretty well, right? So it's just literally one big blob, okay? Everything is connected. Now what I would like to do is I would like to very carefully, precisely start separating pieces that we're going to start detailing, right? So let's go ahead and start with the head, right? I'm going to jump out of the perspective view, and what I would like to do is I would like to make a separation between the suit and the head. and the head being also kind of the shoulders, neck, head, and eyes, right? So let's keep all of that together. So how do we make this separation? How do I make a cut? How do I take this shape out of this, right? So to do this, what I would like to do is, I think the easiest way to do it will simply be duplicating it. So I have two of them. I'm going to hide one of them, and let's just simply cut using the cut tool. So holding down Control and Shift, I'm going to jump into my quick pick here, and I'm going to select something like, let's even use this knife rectangular for a minute, and let's just simply start chopping things off, right? So I'm going to make sure I'm in the right layer, and let's just start chopping things off. And because I do have symmetry on, I can do this on both sides. And essentially, I'm going to get to a point that looks something like this. Now what I'd like to do is I'm going to grab my knife tool. Let's go ahead and grab knife curve. And let's just do a cut from kind of the center to... and you know what? If you wanted to create more of a bend, like you have a little bend here, so it's not perfectly straight, we could do that too, right? We could hold on Control Shift, start dragging, and then as you get to the center here, you can press Alt, and that's going to start curving up. You can see how there's a curve, right? So we could do that. Let's just create a curve right coming from the center, sort of going all the way to the shoulder, and I'm just going to release it, and that's going to cut it on both sides, right? So now I'm left with something like this. And that is perfect to start with. Let's go ahead and unhide the other one. And now we can see what's going on here, right? And let's just do the same thing. I'm going to select the bottom one. So holding down Control Shift, I can bring my knife tool back. And I'm going to start cutting into the suit. And I know that I'm going to mirror this from left to right. So I'm not going to worry about the right side. I'm only kind of going to pay attention to the left side. So essentially this leg, right, left side of the suit, and the arm is the only thing I'm interested in. So I'm going to start making a cut, and I can see the top gradient on the top is showing me which parts are going to get cut off. If I wanted to move this around, I can press spacebar, right? And let's get it into position. I'm going to come down about here, press Alt, and start kind of curving this in, right? And again, I'm not really worried about anything on the right side, so I'm just going to simply slice it. I can move this around if I wanted to, but I can just simply slice it somewhere here. And you can see what that did, right? That's just literally cut away the arm and all of that, which means we can now simply use mirror and weld to mirror the left side over to the right? So let's press mirror and weld, and you can see what that did, right? That gives us a perfect symmetry for our suit. Now we can select our mesh, and if we wanted to, we can grab the move brush and kind of adjust this to be embedded a little bit into the suit, so you have a little bit of a kind of a thickness here, so you can pull this in or push this out, whatever you need to do. Just create something that gives you a nice thickness for the suit, right? So you get a sense of some kind of a thickness there, right? All right, let's go ahead and just simply do Control and just make a selection of our feet. Something like that should be fine. I'm happy with this. We can do it just a little bit higher, maybe. I think like that is perfect. Let's go ahead and go to Split. And we can do split masked points. I'm going to click on that. You can see my feet were added to a separate layer. So now if I select these feet, and let's go ahead and turn off everything else, we can take a look and see what happened. So ZBrush separated the feet, but you can see that they are kind of hollow, right? They're empty inside. So, which also means if we reDynamesh, we can turn these feet to be solid objects. So let's go ahead and do that. Control and drag to turn them into kind of a solid block of clay. That's what I'm looking for. And if I wanted to, I can hold on the Shift key and just smooth this out a little bit so it's a little bit cleaner. Let's go ahead and put this back on, and let's go ahead and hide our feet, and look at our suit, same thing. Let's do control and drag, kind of solidify this, holding down the shift key. I can smooth this out a little bit. Let's bring the feet back and take a look. We can grab our inflate, and we're not sculpting yet, but still we can start creating a little bit of a thickness for our spacesuit there, right? So we know these are going to be our space pants. And we can add some folds here as well, make them look more like pants, right? Very cool. So we have something like that. Now, next would be the hands. I would like to chop those off as well. Same thing. Let's go in the top view. Let's go ahead and hold control and just drag a selection over the hands. And of course I need to be on the right layer for that. So let me do that. Okay, so once that happens, let's use the same button, split masked points. And now our hands are separate as well. If we hide everything else, we can do the same thing. Turn them into a Dynamesh, smooth them out a little bit. Let's bring back the suit and take a look. If I wanted to, I can grab my move brush and just kind of, let's make sure I'm in the suit layer. Let's put this into position so there's a little better connection. Again, grab my inflate, make it kind of large, and just inflate this a little bit. So it looks a little more, I almost like the tapered look of this being a little skinnier, and then it kind of goes a little tapered towards the end. Control drag to solidify it, and you can see what that looks like. So now if I unhide everything, you can see that everything has really nice thick border, right? And everything is very clean and separated, which is great because we can re-Dynamesh this and turn it into clean topology at any moment, right? If we wanted to clean up any of the bottoms here, we can do that by just doing Control Shift and dragging, and we can just do a clean cut, right? Holding down the space bar, you can move this around. Let's just chop this off so maybe it's a little more cleaner, right? Grab our feet and go to my move. Let's just move this up so it kind of goes into the pants a little more. And we can even adjust the thickness of this. Again, not yet sculpting, but just kind of getting things ready still. All right, let's take a look. So now we have very clean, separate meshes for the feet, the hands, the space suit, and the head, right? Perfect. Now we can start having fun and sculpting some of this into something a little more interesting. So I think we should start with the head, and definitely save your project. All right, now let's talk about the head. While we're doing this, there's no reason why we can't just focus on one at a time. So I could just simply have this layer be visible and then press F. And if you start zooming out while you're pressing F, a lot of times you have to do this twice. And that's going to do two things. It's going to frame your mesh in, and then it's also going to center the pivot of the camera if you press F 2 times. That's a little bit confusing, but that's how you do it. So now we have this head, right? And let's start detailing this. So let's see. So the first thing I would like to do is let's start creating indentation for the eyeballs, right? And we can do something as simple as grabbing the inflate. Make sure your active symmetry is on. Make your brush about this size, and instead of adding, let's say subtract, and let's start pressing in this part of the mesh to be the eye socket. All right, so I'm just I can make this a little smaller, just kind of press it in and do something like that. Okay. The next thing I would like to do is I would like to bring in the actual pupil, or the actual eyeball, I mean. So I'm going to insert a sphere. I'm going to go to move, put it into position. I'm going to do this on the his right, my left, so I can mirror this over. And let's just figure out the size that we like. So maybe the size of the eye is going to be something like this. I can push it in. And I think that's pretty cool. Let's see. All right. Very interesting. If we wanted to add a little more inflate here, we could do that. Let's go ahead and switch this back to add. And let's just very carefully kind of fluff this up a little bit so it feels a little more like the eyeball is really inset in there. Something like that, I think is cool. I'm also very aware of the fact that it's not perfect and some of the places might be a little thicker than others. I'm doing that on purpose because I like the dynamic feel of this. You can see how it's a little wobbly. It feels a little more organic, right? I think that's really cool. Very nice. If we wanted to take this and maybe let's go ahead and grab our move brush and actually just move in this portion a little more. Kind of exposing the eye and also creating kind of like a nice curve here. All right. We can also move this around to create even more kind of a space, right? All right, to copy the eye over, let's go ahead and select it. And let's just do a mirror and weld. And now we have two of them, right? Very cool. All right, next let's create our kind of an alien mouth. So to do that, I'm gonna select the head and I'm gonna grab something like, let's do clay buildup. And let's just start building a mouth for our guy, right? So to do this, I'm gonna grab my tablet and let's just start creating kind of the front snout or the front part of the face. Now, I don't have any intention of having this guy opening his mouth, so I don't need to create anything that, you know, is animated or anything, but it would be cool to have a, let's start drawing kind of a jaw part of the character. So this is going to be kind of the front jaw. Again, just using clay buildup, just starting kind of laying down. Now, if you wanted to, you can even turn on Sculptures Pro. And the difference between using this and not using that is that this is going to actually kind of re-dynamesh your strokes as you're putting them down. So as I'm creating more and more clay, right, it's re-dynameshing it kind of automatically. Whereas if I have this off, it's going to use the existing topology and kind of inflate it into position, and then you have to re-dynamesh it as you go along. But having this on is very useful if you want to create unlimited volume for a shape. So it's great for sculpting, right? And initially when you're using clay buildup, it's going to start looking very messy, very different from everything else. But that's totally fine because you can always re-dynamesh and smooth, right? Or I guess just smooth, right? So let's just start creating kind of a jaw for our guy. So we have something like this, and there's no rules, right? Just kind of having fun and creating kind of a bottom mouth piece for this guy. We can even go more into kind of the neck part and just maybe make a little better connection here between the neck and the head. Your only limitation is your imagination, right? So we'll do something like that. For the neck, I don't really have any ideas here yet, so let's just do something like that. That's fine. This is not going to be seen, right? That's going to be inside the spacesuit. But let's see. So for the back of the head, we can hold on the Alt key and we can press in some of this. Give him a little bit of a skull kind of a situation going. Maybe we can do something like this to emphasize this area here. Again, just holding the Alt key, push it in. And you can start seeing how it's becoming to look more organic versus kind of just a blob of nothing, right? So let's just kind of start laying down, because all of this is going to be skin. And think of it like a, I don't know, like a fish or a dinosaur, right? It's not, nothing is going to be perfectly smooth, so we can purposely like mess this up. And we can keep some of that detail as well. And even for the eyes, right? We can just start messing these up a little bit. Create more of an organic feel for the head. So we can mess this up a little bit. It's totally fine, right? You can already see that's a lot more interesting. And I want to make it a little smaller. And for the front, so this is going to be kind of the bottom jaw, right? And you have like the lip here. And I do want to add those nice sharp teeth that he has, but we also need kind of the top lip as well, right? So think of it as just one big mouth, almost like a monster, I guess, but just create something like that. I think is cool. All right. To me, this already is starting to look a lot like a crazy alien. I really want to emphasize this jaw, and the jaw, you know, just like a human mouth, right? You have the top lip, bottom lip, but then you have this kind of a strong jaw that's connected to the bottom. So we don't want to, you know, emphasize too much human anatomy on this, but some concepts have to make a little sense, right? So we have something like that. If we wanted to make this a little bit larger, holding down the Alt key, we can press this part in. Again, just mimicking like a real skull. Just have like an indentation here a little bit, right? Very cool. I can press this in even more if I wanted to. And you can do something like that for the top. Maybe the top could be just a little bit sharper. Why not? All right. Now remember, we're not really gonna have a nose, so we can always do just a couple nostrils here, but I think I'll do that in a minute. If we wanted to, we could increase the resolution. Right now we're super low, right? 128 is very low for this, but we're starting to kind of get more into skin detail, and some of these creases and folds are really interesting, and maybe we want to keep them. But if we keep these and we start using this as an actual final detail, and you know, even if you retopologize this and try to bring this in as a normal map detail, you definitely probably want a lot more resolution. So at this point in time, I say we switch. Let's go ahead and bump this up to like 256. This is when you want to start slowly dialing in the quality, right, of the texture. So I'm going to switch it to 256, and I'm going to jump out of Sculptris Pro, and let's go ahead and do Control and drag and re-dynamesh this, and you can see how it got smoothed out a little bit. But now, if you turn your polyframe, you can see you have a lot more detail, right? And currently you have also multiple polygroups because we kind of combine all these meshes. But we can always do auto groups and just turn it into one group. If you want to know what that is, this button is located at Tools, Polygroups, Auto Groups, right? Very nice. Let's jump out of polyframe, and this time let's start adding this detail, but maybe keeping it a little more in mind of these are going to be actually part of the texture, right? So I'm going to smooth out some of this. I don't want anything super harsh, like these almost look like bandages. I don't really want that, but I could smooth it out and use it more of a skin detail. So I could do that. Let's do something like that. If you wanted to, right? Let's decide if we like how this is looking. Smooth out anything that's super weird or anything that's super symmetrical, like right here. This looks super symmetrical, so I can just smooth this out, right? You don't want to have, you don't want the eye catching the fact that it's, you know, using symmetry. It starts to look a little bit cheap. So I'm going to smooth this out a little more. Again, just starting to make it look more and more like skin. Okay, very cool. Let's add a couple nostrils to this guy. So to do that, I'm going to go to, let's do just Damien standard, and let's just see if we can do a sub, right? We're subtracting. Let's just simply give him maybe a little larger. Just a couple of nostrils right here. Redynamesh, smooth this out. All right, and then if we wanted to maybe pull them out a little, we could do that. Just having fun kind of sculpting something that you would think could be a nose of an alien. So just pull it out just a little bit. I wouldn't mind having it a little bit wide too. And you don't want to pull it out too much because you don't want to make it look like it's, you know, like a human nose, right? Let's do something like that. If we wanted to, we can also grab Damien standard and let's do Redynamesh. Let's do holding down the Alt key because we're in the subtract. We can kind of add a line here and smooth it out so it creates kind of more of a sharp look. We can also create a couple lines. If we wanted to, we can turn on Lazy Mouse and turn this to like 40. Now Lazy Mouse is going to be under stroke Lazy Mouse. So we can just go ahead and create a couple lines. Now I forgot to hold the Alt key. Let's just do something like that. And just start building some kind of a detail for this guy. Not really using any references, just having fun. And I'm going to smooth this out very lightly back into the skin. And you can see that even 256 seems to be maybe not enough. Not happy with this section here. Let's see. Now we're going to really start getting into more of a detail, like if we want to do maybe pores or you know, something a little more interesting. So we could even go to 512 if we wanted to. Let's go to 512. Redynamesh. It's at 1.6 million, which is okay for the head, right? Because it's not going to be, we only really need this for baking, right? That's not going to be like our game topology or anything, but we want something nice for that. If we let's go ahead and click on Damien standard. I'm going to switch to add, and let me see what this looks like. I would love to bring in holding down the Alt key. Actually, I want to push this in like that. Now if you don't move and just press 1, you can see how you can double this up. It'll just do it in the same spot, which is a really cool trick. And now if I switch to add, let's just, no, I want to switch, I want to keep it on add, but what I want to do is I want to take this and just kind of emphasize this part here, creating kind of a sharp lip like that. I can press 1, make it even sharper, and I can smooth this part out. And now you see, because we're in 512 and we're smoothing it out by holding the shift key, it's retaining the shapes a lot better than at like 128 when it was just completely smoothing everything out. So that's the process of slowly adding more resolution and then just having more and more control over your shapes. But obviously you can also see as you're doing the very base foundational shapes, you do want to keep it super low res so you can dial in and switch large shapes very quickly. I hope that makes sense. Let's go ahead and just do the same thing here. Just do something like that. I can press 1 and I could smooth this part out. And let me just maybe press this in. Do something like that, just make some kind of a connection there. Looks very alien to me. I think that's great. Let's see, what else can we do? Now these are going to be our eyeballs, so here we don't really need to worry about anything here, right? And then remember, we're going to have these hair pieces coming from like this part of the face. Now another cool trick that I like to do a lot that I haven't been doing yet, but switching between materials, right? So right now we're kind of in the basic gray, but you could switch your materials to see how your shape is looking. You know, let me move this out of the way. Something like, I can go to like madcap green. You can see that looks a little more maybe skin-like, right? And sometimes that will help you to sculpt as well. So keep that in mind. You can do kind of the classic madcap gray. Now, if you like this material, you can also not have it to be red. You can go to materials and go to like modifiers, for example, and you can just turn off the saturation. And you know, we can make this, if we wanted to, we can make it completely gray, but keep that same material settings, right? So keep that in mind. That's kind of a cool trick. I think I'm gonna go back to, this is a good one too, because this one has a lot of contrast, right? So actually, maybe I'll keep it on this one for a little bit. But let's add a little more detail here too. So here you can see it's starting to look very pixelated, or you can see the grid, right? So I don't want that. I'm going to smooth this out. I want it to feel more like skin. Let's play. Let's have fun. Let's go to standard. I'm going to go to, you know what? I need to move this guy out. I'm going to put you over here. Let's go to, let's go to standard brush, and let's do, we can leave it on dots or even spray. Let's do spray, and let's do something like we can do this alpha 60, right? And the cool thing about this is that if you start doing something like that, you can create kind of a skin feel. So what you could do is you can create kind of a fake skin by doing, let's turn down the intensity, like way down to like maybe 6. And check this out, if you start just randomly like turning this like this, just in circles, it starts to look a lot like skin, right? And very quickly, you can just go around and make it look almost, not like veins, but definitely looks like a elephant skin, or elephant or alien, right? So just literally just making circles all the way around. And you can also see how this looks very smooth and boring, whereas this looks a lot more interesting, especially if you run this through Substance Painter and add some kind of gradients and lighting to this. It's going to look amazing, right? So let's do that. I'm trying to do it kind of quickly. I don't want to, you know, spend hours adding detail, but I do want to show you guys the trick to make something interesting. So we'll do this. Just very quickly go around, make sure we didn't miss anything. The worst part about this is when you're doing this and you forget the active symmetry is turned off. That's the worst. Then you have to go back and redo it. So make sure your symmetry is on. All right. And let me add some here to the front of him as well. Really loving this. I think this is a really cool effect. Like, it's starting to look so cool. All right. If we wanted to, we can add something interesting on his lip here, right? So we could do that by, let's stay in standard, but instead of stroke, let's switch to rectangular, and let's grab something like, I say we grab alpha 62, right? And now we're in drag mode. Again, active symmetry is on. So now we can just start dragging things. And keep in mind, right now it's on add, right? So it's gonna add bumps to this. So we can do, and of course, need a lot more intensity. So like 38 maybe. So you could do something like that for the lip. And now it's just a matter of just having patience and not rushing and just taking your time and very carefully deciding what detail you want to add to your character. So maybe something like that. That's good. Let's go ahead and do the same thing here. And I'm just dragging it to rotate it, right? So, very cool. All right, can smooth this out maybe a little. Maybe that's too much. All right, very cool. So we got the nose, the nostrils. The nose is starting to feel on my end a little too smoothed out. So I could try to pinch it, or I really like this Damien standard. I'm just gonna keep using it. And let me just add a little more. Turn off my lazy mouse. Let me just add a little more of a nostril here, like this. Way too much intensity for me. And I do like lazy mouse, but maybe not this strong. Let's do something a little. So you can see, like, you know, when you're using ZBrush, a lot of times you just have to go back and forth to kind of find the right dials. So that's a little more pronounced, a little stronger, right? All right, let's see, what else can we do? Let's go back to standard. I like the drag, let's keep that. Let's grab this Alpha 23, and I'm gonna still do add. Let me just see what that looks like. This is a little bit too strong. Let's dial this way down, make it a little more large. And let's just figure out, yeah, I think this would be a cool addition. So let's do something like that. And we can smooth this out a little bit. Right, because again, the eyes would be here, but because we have the eyes out here, we can play and have fun in this spot here. Let's give them something back here as well. Right, and this is what I was telling you about. You see how it's starting to really look symmetrical. So, you know, to combat this, you could just press X and do another one like right here in the middle, and this way it would not retain that symmetry, right? It's asymmetrical, it's not mirrored over, and it looks, just very carefully smooth this out, barely, but it looks a lot more interesting than keep mirroring things, right? So keep that in mind. I can do like another one here. I'm not finding the right dial here. Something like that is good. Just a little noise, right? Okay. I think that's cool. Let's see. So it feels like he could have, now remember, we're gonna add more teeth, right? But it does feel like he could use something here. Definitely needs a stronger pronunciation of the border here, the shape. That's what it feels like to me. So let's go back to Alpha 1. Let's do dots. And just so we always have this reset if we needed to. We could pinch this, or I'm just gonna keep using Damien Standard. Let's do Damien Standard, add, turn active symmetry on, make sure it's on both sides. I wanna dial in my lazy mouse. Let me just pronounce this shape a little more. Go all the way around. All right, and I can smooth this out if I wanted to. And again, I'm okay with this not being perfectly straight, right? You can just be careful and make it as straight as you want, but I think I like this being a little more pronounced. And I think it would be really cool if we started adding some creases here as well, right? So I'm going to do subtract. Let me see what that looks like if I start adding some folds in here. So we can do I don't know if I want to go all the way around or if I want to make more like skin folds. Now for the skin folds, if you wanted to add actual folds, I have a brush that I love. I'm going to use it. I usually use it on clothes, but I think it could work on skin as well. And I'm going to make sure I add it to my description. If you import this cloth brush, right, you can use this for skin as well. So let's turn this down to like 25. And check this out. You can just create, if I'm on add, I can do something like that. And then if I hold on the Alt key, I can press this in. And to me, that looks really cool as far as adding skin folds, right? So maybe the eye has some foldings around the eye. Go all the way around to here, and then we can do the Alt and just press this part in. So I'm almost like creating like almost like a rim, right? And make my brush a little bit larger. I can add some more folds here. Right, and this is what I was going for. I like this look of kind of a almost like a lid kind of thing. You can do a little here. And let's do a little here. So it feels like a skin being pushed back, right? For the neck, let's use the same brush for the neck as well, right? So let's create kind of stronger. I'm gonna dial this back up to like 35. Let's create kind of a strong neck detail that feels almost like a dragon lizard kind of thing. And I'm trying to figure out what I want to do here. Not happy with any of these strokes. Maybe I don't really, honestly, I don't really want to get into the chest. This should just be the neck thing. Yeah. Too strong. I can press in, right? Some of that. Some of this could be pushed out. Let's go all the way up here. Okay, so I think that is looking really cool. Let's add maybe some here as well. Just a little bit. And I would like it to go all the way to the top. And of course you have to be careful not to smooth out your shape too much, because now we added all this detail at higher resolution, 512, right? If we want to see what this looks like, we can do a BPR. Looks pretty cool. I'm gonna save. If you wanted to take your eyeballs, and let's do Control D to smooth them out a little more. And you know, if we wanted to add some kind of a simple eye design here, let's figure out what we want to do. Maybe we just simply, so you know what, I'm going to leave this alone because I really want to add a, you know, we can add some veins here and some pupil right here in Substance Painter as a texture, right? Essentially here what we're doing is we're sculpting the high res detail just for the normal map for the baking, right? But because the eyeball is going to be a texture, we don't really have a need for a normal map here, unless we, you know, unless we obviously decide to do some veins or something. We could do that in Substance Painter or here, right? So let's just experiment. If I wanted to, I can go to Let's go back to this one, and let's see if we can just add some detail here. So the eye is not maybe perfectly smooth. A total preference. I'm going to polish this. So you can see I'm adding a little bit of a kind of noise there, right? Maybe it's circular or something like that. Polish it. The reason I'm using polish here is because then I know it's doing it on both sides. So very subtle, but still feels very round and organic. Okay. All right. So I think next, let's go ahead and add some of those hairs that the concept art has, right? So how do we do that? How do we add some of those hairs? And maybe we waited a little bit too long because some of that should be part of this kind of a base mesh, but that's okay. Let's just insert a cone. And yeah, let's insert a cone. Let's subdivide it. I'm going to press Control D until I don't see too much, you know, until it's smooth, right? So I'm going to do something like that. I'm going to put it in position. I want it to be something like this, and I'm going to use this. I'm going to keep this in the center for now. And I have 4 of them, so I'm just going to do 1. So for now, so let's do something like this. And it's coming kind of from the top of his head, right? So what we could do is let's make this a little bit longer, and let's just like start folding this piece in. Okay, so to do that, I'm gonna go to geometry. I don't need anything lower, so I'm gonna delete lower. I want to keep this nice and high. I'm gonna go into this button here, and let's do a bend curve. And this right here is gonna give us resolution. So I'm gonna give myself, initially, I'm just gonna give myself 3 dots, and I'm gonna start kind of bending this in. So something like that is good. And we can figure out how we want this to flow, but maybe it's gonna come from the top. Now it does feel like this is way too large here, right? So let's maybe dial this down. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go back into draw. Let's grab our move, and let's just kind of mold it into what we want, right? So it feels a little more, again, randomly organic is the only word I can think of. It's kind of do something like that. All right. Now, currently, if I turn this on, I can see that it's very, very dense. It's 124,000 points. And, you know, if I wanted to, for example, smooth this out, it's, you know, it's a little bit hard to control and manage. So before we, you know, if you wanted to, you can always Z-remesh it, turn it into a low-res version, and then add, you know, do big shapes that way, if you wanted to. Or just be patient, you know, hold on this, if you hold on the shift key, just smooth this out for a while until it kind of gets to the shape you want if you're dealing with higher res stuff. But I kind of like this, right? So I like how this is meeting into how it's going into the head, but I do want 4 of them, right? So how do I make essentially 3 more of these? Well, I can go to the top, right? I can do, let's do a move, and we're done with bending, so I'm going to go to gear and say accept. And what I would like to do now is I would like to put this pivot into this position. So I'm going to unlock this. I can reset, oops, unlock this, reset this, and put my pivot somewhere around here. Let's go to the top side view and let's move this up. Let's turn on our transparency so we can see. So somewhere right in around here is good. Jump out of the perspective mode and put this into position. All right, that looks good. let's go ahead and lock this up. And let's start kind of, oops, let's turn off active symmetry. And let's just kind of start rotating this. So I'm gonna rotate it into position. Again, mimicking kind of the flow of the concept art, right? So something like this. Now I am gonna mirror this over, so I do need to make sure that it's not overlapping the other side, right? So I need to make it a little smaller, move it over to the side. So I'm gonna have two of them right next to each other. So keep that in mind. I can even squeeze this way a little more, right? Now if I hold on the control key, I can drag another one and maybe rotate that into a position as well. Okay, and I'm okay with these two like overlapping a little bit. That's fine. Maybe move this back a little. All right, let's jump out of transparency mode and take a look. So now we have something like that. This doesn't look good, right? So I want to make sure I put this a little more in. Okay. Very cool. If you want to maintain, now we are gonna Dynamesh this with the head when we kind of seal them together. So let's move this aside a little bit so they're not touching. So when we re-Dynamesh, it doesn't kind of fuse into itself, right? So let's do something like that. That's fine. Now we just have to flip this over to the other side. So I'm gonna go back into. Let's go into subtools and let's go ahead and unmask. I'm gonna go back to draw, hold on the control key, unmask this, and now I want to flip this over. So I'm just gonna do mirror and weld, and now right now we have two. Let's go ahead and take a look. That is matching our reference really nicely, right? I think that looks really cool. If you wanted to add some detail before we merge it together with the head, let's do this. Let's make sure we save our file and let's just play with something new. Let's go into surface and let's click on Lightbox and see what's going on here. Maybe there's some cool things we can apply as far as the noise goes, right? So even something as simple as, really any noise will do, but let's just do something like this. Just double click on it. You can see what that looks like. It's kind of added this really interesting noise pattern to my hair, right? I can press COM on my keyboard to close that. Let's say I like this, right? If I want to keep this, I can always say apply to mesh. And once it does that, you can see that it also lost its colors, which I didn't want, right? I just want the noise to be there, right? I don't really want the colors. I think this looks pretty great. I'm gonna go to Subtool, and I wanna make sure that when I fuse these together, right? This one is 128 Dynamesh, and this one, as you remember, is 512, and it's an active Dynamesh. So I'm gonna come here, I'm gonna turn this to 512 as well, and activate my Dynamesh, right? So now these are exactly the same. So now if I move this up right underneath it, I can click on this and do a merge down. Now when I merge this down, these kind of seal together, but you could see that they're not infused together yet, right? They're still separate, essentially polygroups. So if we do drag and release, then that's going to kind of infuse these together, right? And we want to be careful smoothing this out because we don't want to lose some of this detail that we have sculpted. So very carefully, I can just go around and do something like that, but at the same time, be very mindful about not losing my detail that we've, you know, our skin detail that we sculpted, right? So we do something like that. Very cool. Now, if we do that, you can see that you're losing some of this texture here, but that's okay, right? We can just simply cheat and just create kind of a different effect here, right? Just so we have some kind of noise. So it doesn't look too plain, right? Don't want to keep it plain. So the connection of this hair has kind of these veins, which totally works in my opinion. All right, go around. Now here's another cool trick. If you're zoomed in too much and it's very hard for you to find an empty spot to rotate, right? You can always go outside this line here. You can see there's like a thin gray line, and you can use that. Even though I'm on the mesh, it's going to be using it to rotate and not to sculpt. So a really cool trick for when you're doing detail close-up, right? All right, let's go ahead and zoom out and take a look. I think this looks pretty great. It's almost finished. The final thing that I would like to add is just a couple maybe little teeth to this guy. I think that would be pretty awesome. Let's go ahead and do that. Again, I'm gonna save. Go to insert. Let's get our triangle one more time. That's gonna be our tooth, right? So I can do Control D a couple times until it's essentially smooth. And I can go into the side view. Let's go ahead and make it kind of small, drag it out a little, something like that. And I'm gonna go to geometry, delete lower. Now I don't want this to be, let me go to draw. I don't want this to be so sharp, right? I want it to be a little more tooth-like, like a little more thick, a little more volume. So I can just simply inflate it, and you can see what that's doing. It's kind of creating a different look, right? So now if I turn this into a Dynamesh and re-Dynamesh and do a polish, now the top of it is a lot more round and it's not so sharp, right? I hope that makes sense. Very cool. We can also smooth this out, make it a little even more kind of uneven, right? And then we can go to, let's go to move, let's go to bend curve, and let's just simply bend this to be more like a tooth. Okay, something like that. Go to draw, and let's, actually, you know what? I'm done with it. I'm gonna say accept. And let's figure out if we want to do the bottom ones or the top ones first. And I don't want a lot of them, I just want a few. So this one is already positioned this way, so let's do a couple bottom ones, right? So I'm just gonna literally just move them into position by rotating them. And I'm perfectly fine with these teeth coming out straight out of his kind of lip. So I'm not gonna create kind of a realistic human mouth where you have a gum and these are connected to it. This is an alien creature, almost like a monster, right? So we can let's go ahead and just move this into position and make it to be a part of this kind of the lip, right? So we'll do something like that. And you know, if we wanted to, we could create a little, maybe a better connection here. So we can go around the skin and just kind of push out some of that detail. But before we do that, let's just put all the teeth in position. I don't want to have too many. I'm gonna hold on Control, just drag another one. Maybe this one could be, you know, a little smaller because it's like a back one. And of course we'll mirror it to the other side. And let's do one more here, make this a little smaller, rotate this as well. Just make sure it's touching the lip, right? Very cool. Let's go ahead and now keep in mind right now everything is on one layer, right? They're not separated, but if you turn on your polyframe, you can see the poly groups, and they're currently all one poly group. So if I do control and drag to unmask these and do auto groups, I can turn these different colors, right? Which means if I hold on control shift and click, I can select just this one by itself and then do control and drag to mask it, control shift click to bring everything back, and the control and click to reverse the mask. Which means I can now move it, right? I can, let's choose the center of it, and holding down the control key, we can keep dragging out more of them. So maybe, let's just do a couple more for the bottom, right? So this one could be just a little bit larger. I'm trying to make them a little larger towards the front. And again, we can adjust the slip to hold the tooth a little bit better, right? So you have something like that. And do next one. All right. So I'm happy with this. I think I'm ready to duplicate them over. So let's go ahead and unmask these. Let's click on draw. Let's turn off our polyframe and take a look. To flip them over, I'm gonna have to first mirror them and then do mirror and weld, right? And now we have these teeth going all the way around. Now before we do a couple maybe on the top as well, let's click on our head. So we can hold on the Alt key and click to select the head layer. And what that's going to allow us is now we can grab our inflate. Let's make it a little bit small, or smaller, right? Make sure our active symmetry is on. Let's come here and very carefully, let's just start, make sure I'm on add. Let's just add a little more volume here, right? So it looks like these are inset inside. And I can go all the way around just like that. And it looks a little more interesting, right? It looks like it's part of the design, right? So something like that is great. Let's go ahead and do this one. And essentially it's almost like an external gum is what's going on here. All right. Now once you finish, you could do control and drag to redynamesh. And because we are in 512, it's going to retain all this detail, so it didn't lose any of it. Just, you know, be careful smoothing this out. But now we have something like this. That looks pretty great, right? Looks pretty cool. All right, so now we could create the top teeth as well. But I think this works. If you want to, you can also create some on top to make it even more interesting. But I think this is going to be a good stopping point for the head sculpting. So the next step would be, let's start creating, we can work on the suit, or I'm kind of feeling like maybe we should finish all the organic parts first, right? So essentially, let me turn this back on. Let's work on our hands next. So I'm gonna turn my hands on. If I hold on the shift and click, that's going to hide everything, but that's gonna allow me just to view the hand. And honestly, I don't really need to sculpt both of them at the same time, you know, using active symmetry or anything. I could just delete one of them for now, right? So I can just select this and then just mirror over once I'm done, right? So that's just as easy. So let's go ahead and just do split. We'll do split to parts and say okay. Now we have two hands, and I'm gonna just simply delete the one on the left of the character and just work on this one. So if I press F, I can just work on this hand alone, right? Let's go ahead and make sure we save our work. And let's start sculpting this next. So again, we are in 128 right now, which is really low. We can, let's go ahead and polish this up. And you can see that it's clearly still not enough geometry, right? If I do auto groups, I can make sure it's one solid mesh. And let me add a little more geometry to this by doing, let's go into 256 mode. And let's redynamesh. Let's go ahead and polish this. And you can see now it's a little bit more smoother. And just like before, let's grab something like the clay buildup and let's just kind of start messing this up a little, right? So I'm gonna figure out where the knuckles are, right, for the hands. So this is gonna be kind of my knuckle. This is gonna be the part of the finger that's bending. If I hold on the Alt key, I can press this in for the nails, right? And let's go ahead and figure out where the nail is here. So I don't know if it should be on the top or maybe a little more on the side. I think I'll just start doing it here. And again, this is going to be the bend. And these, it could be like a little bit of a bones coming out. And you see what I'm doing? I'm literally just messing this up a little to make it feel like we did with the head, a little more like a skin, right? Just something like that. Let's come back on this down here, and holding down the Alt key, we can press all of this in. Add some padding here, holding the Alt key. I'm gonna press this part in, and maybe push some of this in as well. Okay. Now, just like a real hand, you have the thumb with a little extra padding here, and then you have the bottom part of the palm, right? It has a little more kind of a round volume. Alien or human, I think it's important to kind of communicate some basics, right? So we can just have some kind of reference of what's going on here. So this is the hand, right? Very simple. I can hold on Control and drag and smooth this out. I'll just smooth this out a little more, and you can see that it totally feels like an alien kind of organic hand versus a big blob of nothingness, right? So very simple, very quick. And I even like some of these kind of random lines that happen, kind of almost accidental, right? I think it totally works. I'm even going to leave these lines here. I think it feels cool, like a skin, a little bone picking up, you know, from the bottom. So we can build some of this up a little, just a little bit, and then keep smoothing it out. All right. So nothing too crazy. Next, let's go ahead and add maybe a nail here, right? So how do we do that? How do we add a nail? What would be the easiest way to add a nail? So we can of course just use a Damien standard, right? And using the subtraction, we could just draw a nail. We could do something like that, and that could totally work. Or if we wanted to make it a little more interesting, we could hold on the Control key and mask out the part of the nail that we can just extract. So let's try that and see what that looks like and see if we like that, right? So we can make a kind of a mask all the way around here. Oh, let me just do a better job here. So I'm going to select all of this, and I'm going to select all of this. Okay. And now what we can do is we can go to geometry, or I'm sorry, go to subtool, go to extract. Let's make this really smooth, And I'm going to leave the thickness by default as 0.02 and just do extract and see what that looks like. You can see the preview, right? This looks way too much. Let's dial this down to 0.01 and see what half of that looks like. I think it's a little bit better. I'm going to say accept. When I say accept, it put it in the new, let me dial this up. You can see it put it in the new layer, right? But I do want to see my hand, so I'm going to activate that. Let's come back. Let's go ahead and hold on Control and drag to remove the mask. And now we can just slowly maybe, you know, sculpt this into more of a nail feel. But before we do, you know, if we didn't want to deal with all of this extra topology, we could just do a quick Z remesher. Why not, right? Go to geometry, simplify this, go to Z remesher, and I'm going to turn adapt off. I'm going to put this on 1 because I really wanted low poly. I don't have active symmetry on because this is not symmetrical, and I'm just simply going to say Z remesh. And you can see what that did. It created kind of a super low poly version of this, which is much better than we had before. I think this will be easier for us to control. But if we want to, we could always press Control D and smooth it just a little bit. Jump out of the poly frame, and just using the move brush alone, I can, you know, sculpt this into more of a nail, right? So I can maybe bring the bottom part in, and then bring this in a little more. Do the same thing here, and then maybe pull this out a little, right? So the bottom ones, you know, usually is going to be a little more flat, and then these are going to go a little on the side. I think it's a good, nice cartoony nail. You could do something like that. Just push this out. And let's do the same thing here. Again, just bring this in and do something like that. I think that totally works. If we wanted to, we can also push some of this in a little more. So essentially the end of the nail, right, is going to come out a little, and then the in is going to be a little more inside the skin, right? Just create kind of a stylized, cartoony look. Okay. So this is going to be a little more pushed in. If we wanted to, we could always press Control D a couple more times, make it a little more smooth. And we'll deal with topology later, right? Right now we're just kind of creating nice, clean sculpt. So you have to figure out if you like this. If not, you know, do a little more sculpting. You can maybe bring this in so it feels a little more like a nail. So it doesn't look like just a simple circle, right? You can take the time and even curve these. That would be really cool, because obviously the tops of the nails are more like lifted up and curved. It wouldn't be pressed in like that. It would be actually going the other way. Alright, we can smooth some of this out. Alright, let's say we're happy with this. If we are happy with it, which I'm not happy with it. I'm gonna actually, let's do this. Let's delete lower. And this feels way too smooth and plasticky, right? So let's come back here and let's do drag. And let's do something like alpha 61. And let's just figure out if we can create some kind of a noise on our nails. And the noise is going to be kind of, these lines are going to be following, and you know what, I'm realizing I don't like 61, I actually like 62. And I want to follow the same kind of flow of the, along the joint, you know, the fake joints, right? So I'm just going to go like this way. And do the same thing here. Maybe smooth this out a little. Again, just creating kind of a noise, something, messing it up a little more, right? So let's say I'm happy with this. Let's go back into Subtool. I'm gonna merge this down, okay? Honestly, I didn't mean to do that. I'm gonna go to Split. I'm gonna do Split to similar parts. And what I wanna do is, I didn't mean to do any of this. So I'm gonna do, let me merge my nails back down again, so they're together. And I'm gonna move them up below the hand. Now if I hide the nails, I can see that this is still masked, so I can press Control and drag to unmask it. And now what I could do is, I know that this is Dynamesh 256, and my nails are need to be the same, so I'm gonna do the same thing. Dynamesh 256. Now if I grab this, I can merge down, and I can, you know, you can see all of the detail was preserved because now they match the resolution, right? So it's very nice. Let's go ahead and unhide our spacesuit, our eyes, teeth, and our head. And let's just make sure that it kind of matches so far, right? So make sure that our hand kind of matches the look of the character. And clearly it does, but it does have some issues that need to be a little bit, just needs a little more detail, right? So I'm gonna go back into here. Let's do the same thing. Let's just kind of mess this up a little. All right. Do something like that. And now I can do Redynamesh and maybe a little polish. Just a little bit, so it's toned down a little bit, but now you can see there's a lot more detail in the fingers, and that kind of matches the feel of the head as well, right? Right, very cool. Now let's flip this over by just doing mirror and weld. Now we have two of them, okay? Go into perspective view and take a look. I can even do a BPR, make sure we like what we're seeing. I think it looks pretty great. Now next, let's repeat the same thing with the feet of the character, and then we'll move on to doing the spacesuit with some cool details, including the zipper and the knee pads and so on.